Good evening. You're watching the main news on HKIBC. I'm Sarah Wong. Our top stories tonight. Over 800 new COVID cases for Hong Kong for a second day in a row. China's defense minister lashes out at the U.S. but thaws frosty relations with Australia. And tens of thousands in the U.S. rally for stricter gun laws. Hong Kong's daily COVID cases remained above 800 for the second day in a row. 2 more schools have been asked to suspend in-person lessons after students from the same classes reported infections. Joanna Ho reports.
Hong Kong reported 814 new COVID infections today, 106 of which were imported. Asked whether the number is expected to grow and even reach the thousands, Cheung from the Center for Health Protection said it's possible. While an estimated 4 to 5 million people in the city have already recovered from the virus, Cheung said daily caseloads may be pushed up by those who have not been infected yet. She said the easing of social distancing rules have also increased the flow of people on streets, resulting in more transmissions in the community. Cheung, however, dismissed worries about the growing number of imported cases since more flights have been coming into the city as of late. Of today's recorded infections, 4 were linked to the Lam nightclub cluster in Cheung, taking that tally to 17. There were no additional cases to the outbreak at Rex City nightclub in Central. And health officials said clusters that emerged from bars, Link and Shuffle in Central did not grow either. Meanwhile, 6 students from Class 2C at Puito Primary School in Ma Tau Cheung began testing positive for the virus over the past 3 days. Class 4E at Po Learn Kok Choi School in Sham Shui Po also reported 4 infections. Officials have advised both schools to suspend the affected classes for a week. Joanna Ho, HKIBC.
Carrie Lam criticized Western countries for sanctioning local officials and called on the incoming administration to continue combating groundless accusations from foreign governments. It comes as the chief executive prepares to make way for her successor, John Lee, in 3 weeks. Here's Joanna Ho again.
Carrie Lam is running her final stretch as Hong Kong's leader, and she's making it clear she wants to leave with no regrets. Taking to the airwaves this morning, the outgoing chief executive blasted Western countries for sanctions laid on local officials. She accused them of using Hong Kong's national security law to take as an opportunity to attract talent from the city. Lam noted many countries are rolling out new immigration policies that are especially lenient to Hong Kongers in a bid to attract quality migrants. In particular, she took aim at the United States for punishing her and her cabinet when they were simply trying to protect the country. She also claimed Hong Kong's national security law is actually less strict than those of many countries in the West. In fact, she said Hong Kong could become a loophole for China's security. On that front, she had suggestions for her successor to continue combating groundless criticisms from abroad and make clarifications. On universal suffrage, the outgoing chief executive said it is still possible as long as it sticks to the framework set out in the Basic Law. She reiterated that a CE candidate must be nominated by the election committee, and that civic nomination is simply not possible under current rules. The central government has never wavered on the one country, 2 systems principle, according to Lam. She said the current electoral system is already very close to what the National People's Congress Standing Committee laid out on August 31st in 2014. Joanna Ho, HKIBC.
In a letter to local pro-Beijing newspaper Ta Kung Pao, President Xi Jinping said Hong Kong media should adhere to the truth and act responsibly. The letter was read out by Liaison Office Director Luo Huining at a celebration event of the paper's 120th anniversary. She praised Ta Kung Pao for its contribution to maintaining the city's social stability. Outgoing Chief Executive Carrie Lam was also in attendance. She said the media should continue to make good use of press freedom and safeguard national security. Financial Secretary Paul Chan says the government's electronic voucher scheme has helped the city upgrade into a digital economy. He also revealed that more details on the latest batch of $5,000 will be released in the coming week. Chloe Feng reports.
Writing on his weekly blog today, Finance Chief Paul Chan revealed more details on the second phase distribution of the government's $10,000 consumption voucher. Echoing an earlier announcement, he said 2 more digital platforms, BOC Pay and HSBC's PayMe, will become distributors. They join the 4 existing ones, which are Alipay, Octopus, Tap & Go, and WeChat Pay. Hong Kongers can choose to switch to the newly added platforms or stick to their existing ones for the upcoming batch of $5,000. If they choose to stick with their old distributors, they will not need to register again. Chan hopes this latest batch will give the economy a strong boost and is expected to come through sometime during the summer holidays. That's especially since vendors were unable to take full advantage of the last set of vouchers in April due to the pandemic. That time, over 6.3 million eligible residents received the handouts. Full details on the distribution will be announced this week. Chan also boasted the development of Hong Kong's digital economy. In particular, online sales bucked an overall weak retail trend in the first quarter by growing 36%, involving over $11 billion. He said there has been improved acceptance of digital payments over the past 2 years. About 130,000 businesses and 6.6 million consumers having registered with e-payment platforms since the launch of the government's voucher scheme. Chan believes digitalized operation and management will give new room for business growth while paving the way to upgrade the city's economy. Chloe Feng, HKIBC.
Undersecretary for Education Christine Choi has called on the city's youngsters to learn Putonghua so they can become part of the country's development. The official was speaking at a Putonghua competition award ceremony for primary and secondary school students. She pointed out that Putonghua is the common language of China, and students should speak it well in order to seize opportunities, especially in the Greater Bay Area. She also urged them to learn more about the country's culture. Choi said the government will continue to provide resources for teachers and students to interact with the mainland. Police have officially charged 4 men in relation to a shooting in Central last week. The group, aged from 23 to 42, were arrested on 1 count of attempted wounding with intent. They also face 1 count of offensive weapon possession. The incident in the early hours of Friday saw 3 people injured. One of them was shot in the stomach. Police believe the incident was a showdown between 2 rival triad groups. Mainland netizens are up in arms after 4 women were beaten up by a group of disgruntled men in Hebei province. The brutal encounter was captured by surveillance camera at a barbecue restaurant in the city of Tangshan. A man started attacking a woman who rejected his advances before the brawl spiraled out of control. The assailants dragged the victims outside and continued their assault as several patrons stood by and watched. Authorities said 2 women were injured and sent to hospital for treatment. All 9 suspects have now been arrested more than a day since the assault took place. The incident triggered a fierce debate on China's social media over gender equality and sexual violence. Defense Minister Wei Fenghe today warned that China will fight at all costs against attempts to split the country. Speaking in Singapore, he added that the pursuit of Taiwan independence is a dead end, while also taking aim at the U.S. Choi again.
Speaking to his counterparts from around the world, China's Defense Minister Wei Fenghe did not mince words at the Shangri-La Dialogue Security Summit in Singapore. He warned anyone attempting to pursue Taiwan independence would come to a dead end.
如果有人胆敢把台湾分裂出去，
We'll fight at all costs, and we'll fight to the very end, he said. This is the only choice for China. His remarks came just one day after U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin accused Beijing of becoming more coercive over Taiwan, jeopardizing regional security. In response, Wei accused Austin of smearing Beijing and condemned Washington for failing to uphold the One China principle by selling weapons to Taiwan. He also took aim at the United States' support of countries in the Indo-Pacific region, calling it an attempt to hijack support and building exclusive small groups under the guise of multilateralism. In the afternoon, Wei held a meeting with Australian Defence Minister Richard Marles. It marked the first talk in 3 years between the two countries' defence ministers. Marles described the conversations as frank and full.
Australia and China's relationship is complex, and it's precisely because of this complexity that it is really important that we are engaging in dialogue right now.
The talk shows signs of wanting to solve frosty Sino-Australian relations since 2017. Choi, HKIBC.
Supporters of tighter gun control stormed the streets of the United States to press for action from politicians. This as a bipartisan group of senators are close to hammering out a deal on moderate gun reforms. Tens of thousands of students and anti-gun activists flocked to the streets across America as gun control debates intensified. The surge of anger and thirst for action is propelled by a string of mass shootings across the nation in recent weeks. People have responded to calls for rallies yesterday, with some even taking place outside of the U.S. This one in capital Washington, D.C. was attended by survivors of America's deadliest high school shooting in Florida 3 years ago. David Hawk was a student at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School when he saw 17 schoolmates and teachers gunned down.
If our government can't do anything to stop 19 kids from being killed and slaughtered in their own school and decapitated, it's time to change who is in government.
This time is different because this isn't about politics. It's about morality. Not right and left, but right and wrong. And that doesn't just mean thoughts and prayers. That means courage and action.
We fight every day for our...
There was a scare when a man jumped a barricade and tried to rush the stage before he was stopped by security. The incident sent panicked participants scattering, exemplifying the chilling effect gun crimes have on the public. President Joe Biden sent his support from California and again called on Congress to pass common-sense gun laws. The Democratic leader is mildly optimistic that a deal can soon be reached in the Senate to introduce modest reforms. They do not include some key requests, such as raising the age limit for semi-automatic weapon purchase to 21 years old or the banning of large-capacity magazines. The head of the European Commission dropped by Ukraine to renew Brussels' support in its war with Russia.
The people of Ukraine have proven incredible strength and motivation and stamina. So I'm deeply convinced that we will together, you will overcome this horrible, atrocious war. We will and you will rebuild this beautiful country and modernize Ukraine. And I just want to say we stand by your side. Slava Ukraine.
Von der Leyen assured Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky that the EU is working day and night to assess Kyiv's request to join the bloc. An initial decision on whether to grant Ukraine candidate status is expected next week. But it could be a long way before Kyiv gains the approval of all 27 member states, with skepticism brewing in major European capitals. Zelensky urged the EU to fast-track Ukraine's application and sanction all Russian officials and judges involved in the war. Onto the weather now. Hot with sunny periods and a few showers tomorrow. Temperatures range between 28 and 32 degrees. Tuesday and Wednesday will be cloudy with occasional showers and thunderstorms. Now let's take a look at the weather around the world. That's our main news for Sunday night. Join us for more news at 11. I'm Sarah Wong. Thanks for watching. Good night.